We only had $1,000 to start a company with, which is nothing, even then, because we had to educate people on what herbs were back in the 70s. And I said, no, it's herbs that you take for your health. In about 3 or 4 months, we became profitable. I played Monopoly and a game called Risk and a game called Easy Money. I was the only player. I played all 6 positions in every game.
We appreciate Ken Brailsford coming on the podcast. In talking about the origins of Klerpath, it wouldn't be right if we didn't bring Ken into the equation, so people have an understanding of why this is really a good team and not just good products. Ken Brailsford has the unique title of Father of Encapsulation, but that's not the most unique thing about Ken. Ken and Steve took a risk on me and invited me to be involved in Klerpath. And the reason why that's so important is because Ken is an incredible entrepreneur and businessman that I think started with Encapsulation, but the number of companies that he succeeded at and in being a person of faith and philanthropy, I think it's a beautiful story. And so I'd like to showcase some of the things that really help us thrive as a company that is very unique. I mean, the reality is startups, it's more likely to fail than to succeed. And I don't think we'd be here. Well, I know we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Ken.
I've had a couple of failures. It's not 100%. Anyone that tells you they start businesses and every one of them succeed is probably not being forthright and truthful.
Right.
Because to start a business is very difficult and very risky. I got into doing that because out of necessity. I got out of the military during the Vietnam era, and having learned a lot, I learned how supposedly to lead the military way as well as the normal way because of the church, my church. So I learned both ways, but when I came out of the military, I didn't have any income. I had 2 small children and had to support a family. So I had to create a job. It came about in a strange way through a family meeting. We only had $1,000 to start a company with, which is nothing. Even then, even though 1,000 was more then than now, it just was a challenge. But we started to encapsulate herbs. Started with cayenne pepper, and then chaparral. And there was a need for it. We found a need. We didn't need a lot of money. I had to go out on the road with the product which we made by hand. We had to fill the capsules just by stuffing the powder ourselves, which we did at night after work for a while. And so I had to go out and sell enough because I was the first and only employee at the time, that I could pay my salary. And it worked. It grew very fast. We expanded the product line, and that was the beginning. That was Nature Sunshine.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
In the 70s, right?
That was in the 70s. It started in 1972, and I was there. We started another company, which was actually a book publishing company in the mid-70s. So I learned that business that way because we had to educate people on what herbs were. Back in the 70s, someone would ask you what you do. Well, we put our herbs in capsules. And they said, well, you mean flavorful, I forgot the word.
Spices.
Spices, yeah, like spices, herbal spices.
Right.
And I said, no, it's herbs that you take for your health. And people didn't know it, so we had to publish books, and we started a magazine, an herbal magazine at the time. Our attorney said, you've got to split that off of your production company because the FDA will say you're now prescribing because it's part of the same company. So we split that off, and in 1979, when we split that off, all the founders of Nature Sunshine had ownership, and they said, here, we'll give you ours, but you need to run it. And so I had to quit literally in a day from running Nature Sunshine Products, which was then, in dollars then, was $11 million business, from nothing to 11 in 7 years, and go run it. And I did that. I got the company up to where it was starting to be profitable, publishing company, magazine, and the books. And so I did that, and I got so burned out, I almost literally gave the company away to one of my employees, my salesman for ads, and it would have paid me back by itself, the company. I said, just keep it doing the same thing. You pay me so much a month, and in 3 years, you totally own it. And he couldn't do that. He made some very, very hard and bad decisions. I didn't know that, but about 6 months later, he couldn't send me my check. So I went in and saw him, and I said, I know because you're not sending my check that you've done something's happened to the company. And I said, this is what you have to do to be profitable again, then you can pay me again. And I said, first of all, you take a 20% pay cut. Number 2, all the other employees take 10%. Number 3, you cut to a cheaper paper in your magazine. You'll save, between all of these moves, you'll be profitable again. The problem was he didn't do that. And actually he got me sued because he didn't pay a bill that I had paid, but my name was still on it as a guarantor to the printer. And I got sued, and it was out of Denver. That's a whole nother story. But in a long shot is I didn't want the company back. I was so burned out. I should have taken it back. They were up to 150,000 paid subscribers when I left. And I know we could have got it to 2 or 3 million, maybe 4 million, because it was unique to the printing industry, magazine industry. But I didn't want it back. I didn't. And he, in the next 3 years or so, bankrupted the company. I didn't get any more money from him because he wouldn't make those cuts. Anytime you cut other employees' salaries, you better cut yours first, and it better be double so they don't get upset. And they wouldn't have been. I knew the people. And that was really from 2 businesses in the beginning.
But that is just the beginning. You went on, even after going through all of that, other very, very big companies came about from that learning process.
Well, big is relative. Big in the industry, yeah. I went on after that to deal in stocks. I was a market maker and a broker for a while, a couple of times, and made money. And I did other entrepreneurial things. I used to say to people, they'd ask me, why are you doing all this? Why didn't you just get a job? And I'd say, because nobody would hire me. And it's a little tongue-in-cheek, but I since the military, I've never worked for anybody else. It's always been what I've created and done. And in 1985, one of the distributors from Nature Sunshine, their top one, said, he was having some conflicts with the company at the time. I wasn't there. I was long gone, sold my stock. And he said, I need you to start another MLM company because if something happens over here, I want to be able to move the people over here. And so I went out, and we had a real small competitor that was competed with us even way back when I was running Nature Sunshine Products on a small scale. He could never grow it. I knocked on the door one day and said to him, and I knew him because of that, and he knew me. He was just in a small office by one of his contract manufacturer had provided for him. And I said, I heard you wanted to sell your business, and so I came to buy it. My friend had told me that was the case. It wasn't. He says, well, I hadn't planned on selling it, but since you're here, come on in and let's talk about it. I went in and sat down with him, and 20 minutes later, I'd struck a deal with him. I didn't have any money at the time. That fiasco with the magazine publishing company took all of the capital I had put in the bank, so I'd really had to kind of start over. And so in 20 minutes, I had made a deal with him. I had to go to a bank, which was a founder of. No more, I wasn't anymore, but I knew the guys, and they said, yeah, we'll give you, it was $20,000 to buy his business. So I paid him the $20,000 with borrowed money and owned his business. And so we started our second MLM company. The business he was doing was $10,000 a month when I bought it. Not all profits, that was sales. And it grew over the next, I owned it from 1985 till 1997 is when I sold it. And it had gone from $10,000 a month to $10 million a month in sales. And so we had a big company back east wanted to buy it, and the price was right. So I sold it and kept some of my stock for 3 more years and sold it again and made double what I'd originally got for it. And so I had a lot of capital, and I was always doing it. I've always been curious about different things, and I've always had the ability to see things that could make money and be profitable. Not always. In the meantime, I'd gotten to book publishing again, and it got to the point where I couldn't turn it around. I'd turned it around a lot. There's different reasons for it, but I just paid off all the debt instead of taking bankruptcy out. I just wrote a check and paid all the suppliers and shut the business down. I don't believe in hurting other people, and it would have hurt them if I'd have taken out bankruptcy because, you depend on people as suppliers. It's not right if you can. Some cases you can't, but if you can, you should pay it back. And I could out of my own pocket and did.
If you don't mind, I'd like to touch on what you said about not believing in hurting other people. I don't think people understand. You're telling us all of these successes that are doing well. You're a curious person. You really didn't have to volunteer your time and pay your own money to go serve the Savior. And I don't know if that's more related to the fact that you didn't like to hurt people in the beginning, or did that develop by sacrificing? I'm sure you had to leave stuff behind to go do that.
Well, I had, that was in 2005. Well, actually, it goes back to 2002. My wife and I went and worked for the church, went back, it's all of our own expense, to Georgia for 1.5 years and taught the gospel to people. And that was a great experience. Came back. So that was in between when I had a lot of money and I wasn't doing a lot with it. And so over that time period, I had 1.5 years after we got back from Georgia, and the church asked me if I would be a mission president for 3 years at our expense, of course, which is the way we do it in our church, and oversee a whole bunch of mostly young boys and girls, men and women, for 3 years, which my wife and I did. We went to South Carolina and were there for 3 years. It was a wonderful experience. Met a lot of wonderful people, both people that were inside the church and outside the church. You just meet a lot of wonderful people. And the gospel of Jesus Christ will bless people's lives. No matter if they're in a Christian church, they all get the same type of blessings. We believe we have things that can add on to those blessings, and that's what we teach people. But great experience, great young people. Came back from that in 2008. And I need to back up a little bit. Right before we went on that first mission to Georgia, I had an old friend of mine who in Nature Sunshine who came and wanted to start another MLM company. He had been the CFO, and there's a whole story behind that. But in essence, he wanted me to put up the money, and he'd do the work. And I knew I was going to be going to South Carolina at the time, and I didn't want to. I couldn't foul that up. I'd made commitments. When you make commitments, you do them. And so I put up the money, kept control of the business, 60%, gave him 40%. And he didn't put up any money for it, but he needed the incentive to make it work. Well, he started, and we even started it I had 6 months to help get the company going, which I did on a small scale. And I got back to South Carolina with my wife on our mission. And I was only there about 5 or 6 weeks, and I got a phone call from one of my employees of one of the businesses that I had started here before also. And she told me that my partner, the guy that came to me and got it going, just had a massive heart attack and was dead. And so I had made a commitment to the church to stay in South Carolina for 3 years, and I was a month and a half into it. And here's my partner who's running the business back here who's dead. So now what do I do? And I had a guy that I had hired that was still working there, moved him, elevated him, and another couple of people I interviewed, I hired to do different things. And then I had to control it from there. I couldn't be here. I couldn't leave and be here. But the funny thing was, I'd get about every month, my partner, not my partner, but my employee that ran this other business, and now she was helping oversee that, she'd call me every month and said they need more money. I'd already invested everything that my partner had said we'd need to get it going, and I felt it was right if it was managed right. Well, and she'd say, the business is doing better, but we need another $100,000. Or one time it was $250,000. These are monthly, almost monthly phone calls. And I said, her name was Ann. I said, Ann, I've got so much money in here. Maybe I ought to, this thing's going to bankrupt me if it doesn't work. Maybe I ought to just close it down and take my tax losses. No, Ken, it's going to really work. You need to stay put and do it. And you get back in 3 years, and I know you can fix it when you get back, because it was eating up money. And that's what ended up happening with the book publishing company. The first one I was telling you about is when I took it over, it took me, or before I took it over, I'd hired another guy to run it. It's taking more money. And even if you sell a business, make a lot of money, it's a certain amount of money, and then it's gone. And Uncle Sam's, of course, always got his hand in there before anything. So I ran it like that till I was through in 3 years, came back to Utah. First thing I did when I got back, and they'd grown it a little bit, but the expenses had grown way more than
the profit.
What the sales were coming in. I went back to the accounting office, went in, and said, from now on, if I don't sign off on it, you don't spend $1, not $1. And I told the other people, same thing. And we went from losing a lot of money at that point, I don't remember how much, but in about 3 or 4 months, we became profitable. And from then, over the next several years, we always made money, and it was climbing. I ran the company for about 4 years myself. Then we put other people in, but we always made money.
That was really your third successful supplement company.
That was my third successful encapsulated herb type of business.
Yeah. And we had stick packs. I remember I was in logistics. You brought me in to help with logistics, and I had no idea what I was doing.
Well, but you learned, and you did very well.
I was like, well, what does this entail? And you're like, I don't know. You just get on the computer and make orders. And so.
Yeah, you had to learn. I didn't want to sit down and.
Yeah, no, it was good.
But I sat down, as I remember, every week with you. We sat down and determined where the inventory was, and I told you, here's where you have to order.
Yeah.
For a while. After a while, I didn't need to do that.
And I remember specifically, you'd be like, go back to this vendor and get a price cut. And I'd be like, oh, man, they're not going to go for that. And they went for it almost every time. And especially as we kept growing. Being in 3 successful supplement companies, like, what is it about products specifically that are movers in the industry that you would identify?
What brought me into the third company? Well, really what brought me into, I told you what happened on the second company. It's just a unique situation. It never happened. That guy never left Nature's Sunshine, but he did stay with us and help us grow a little bit, and he was a good friend. The third company, my friend had found an herb in Africa and other parts of the world we ended up buying it from India because it was the best, and at the time at least, certainly.
Yeah.
And so it was unique. It had so much nutrition. It was good for everybody. Anybody could take it and be better. And there's more story to it than that. But in essence, something had to be unique, and it had to be better than what was already out there, or I didn't want to get involved with it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to just be another Me Too company.
Your first two companies, if I'm right, Nature Sunshine and what it's now, Unicity, those were really the products that moved the best in those two companies were weight loss products, right? Things that actually made a difference in people's body. They could feel it. They could see a transformation.
Yeah. Well, our weight loss product gave people so much energy. Some of them would say, I when I started to take it, I couldn't sleep at night. I cleaned my whole house.
Yeah.
I got comments like that all the time until their body got used to it, and then they didn't lose sleep over it. But that was unique. That gave that product a big growth curve. Often in the natural industry, it used to be, I don't know that it is so much now, the government would see it as a competition against the pharmaceutical companies, and they would make you take it out of the market.
Yeah, so
it's not that way anymore, I don't believe.
You've seen probably thousands of different supplements or products, and coming full circle to Klerpath, like, is there something specifically unique that I know what the answer is for me, but coming from you, like what it is about Grow Muscle and Joe's formula that? Well,
just this. First of all, you hear stories and you hear what it's doing, and it seems unique. Just the fact that it has niacin in it to help flush the poisons out of the body. I know what niacin does. It's going to give you a flush, and that's good for your body. It scares most people. Like the first time I ever had a flush from niacin, I thought I was having a heart attack. I wasn't. It was very good for me, but I didn't know that at the time. But you find something unique. Klerpath is unique. It's unique for anybody that wants to build their body system, clean their body out, clean the cells out, all these different factors. And that's why I was interested in it. And then I met Joe and learned about his background and things. And all these things are impressive to me. You can't find another Klerpath out there on the market. It's unique.
Yeah, so it really comes down to people, which is Joe, and products.
Well,
right?
It's not just me.
Well,
you took a chance on me. Steve has taken a huge chance on the company and brought lots of people in to this project.
You guys have brought a lot of people, and they love it. And a lot of people that you'd have to pay money to get them using the product. They come and they don't charge us money. And if they charge us, it's very minimal.
Yeah.
Probably because their agents are telling them you have to charge something. But those things are all unique things. So you have to find a path to get it out. And when people take a wonderful product and it's working, what's the best advertisement you get? They'll tell their friends, 5 or 10 people.
It really comes back to the weight loss philosophy where the movers of products actually are differentiators. They make it, you can feel it, you can see the results. That's really what I loved about your formula, which is the same now. It was under your brand, but first it was like, oh wow, this is a different product for pre-workout, and then it was Joe's attracted all these professional athletes at a zero cost. There's something different here.
When people are physical and want to be physical, whether they're going to the gym or they're just walking or exercising at home or have their own equipment at home, when they start taking this product, they'll feel the difference. Going back to my previous company, the weight loss product, people felt the product, felt the difference.
Yep.
That's what is unique. And if you can feel the difference, you're going to keep using the product, and then you'll see the difference with some time.
Yeah.
So your second company, or third company, Zija, which you sold, but the product was more nutrition based, and it was sort of like a gap filler, the Moringa oleifera. People could feel that, and it seemed to take root a little slower than, like, let's say a weight loss product or even grow muscle. You can feel that like instantly.
But that's true, but it was so unique. There's nothing like it on the market. And over time, people could tell the difference. That company, before I sold it, had actually gone up and was bigger than my previous company, larger. Yeah. I'm good at starting companies and growing them to a certain level. After that, there needs to be someone else manage it that's ready to take it to the next step. I don't like that step. I don't do it. And typically I've sold those businesses. I don't anymore. I'll take the business and then I'll put other people to run it in it. That's what I'm doing now, generally.
But it sounds like that barrier keeps going up.
Yeah, because
keeps going
every
up.
company you're stretching and growing and building and becoming bigger and bigger. And so ZJ got pretty big. Like we got up to more than 140 million a year when I was there. So, you have your ups and downs with businesses, but you take risk. There's always risk in any business, no matter what the size is. But every time you put someone else in charge, you're taking a risk too. Will they be able to take it to the next level? You assume they will, but it doesn't always work that way either. Yeah, and then there's the other side to it, component-wise, in businesses that you seem to be attracted to, and Joe's hit on this, and I think we're really trying to develop that into Klerpath, whereas it not only provides a good nutrition support for building muscle, and other products we come out with will as well, but then there's the people side to it, like the financial people side. Like how can this company bless other people? Because these companies weren't just like brick and mortar, we're selling at Good Earth. They were multi-level marketing companies, which created a lot of income. I remember as a kid at conventions, one in Rome specifically, you were pointing out to me at a really young age that there's this guy and he makes more money than me, and there's this guy and he makes more money than me. And so it really was a people first.
Well, it always is. If you don't care about the people, your business won't succeed. I don't believe long term. I'm happy to see people make more money than me. I've had a lot of people that worked for me and learned the business because we were the first in what we were doing, and certainly in this part of Utah. Yeah. And then other people, when they quit, they went and started their own and moved on. And people went from there to other. And that father of encapsulated herbs is what I was given the title of by one of our distributors, was unique because, and it wasn't just me, it happened to be that I was the one that started the company and had to make it work. One of my partners, going back to Nature Sunshine, would come to me, and every time I'd see him, he'd say, "Ken, you've made me a millionaire." And I did, not intentionally, but they were there. They learned, and they got stock, and they made money from it, and that's good. I'd like to see people succeed. In fact, I'm not one if someone goes off and starts a competing company. I've never been one to get upset or even care. Many times they'd come to me in advance and tell me, and I'd say, "Well, good, go do it. I'm okay with it."
But from the bottom of the pile, we're busy talking about this upper realm. The thing that really impressed me from the very beginning, I had met with a lot of investors, and there's a big profit margin in sports supplements. And so most of them were motivated simply by money. And so they would tell me that my formula is too expensive. I need to water it down. And that's what shut down the deal most of the time, because this is a product that I use and my family uses. I don't want to water it down. I don't want to make weak ingredients. You have supported me wholeheartedly from the very beginning that I don't need to go with substandard ingredients. I don't need to water it down. The support from the lower level, from our perspective, is that loyalty and respect, and maybe trust really goes a long way. I want to do everything I can to make sure you succeed because you're giving me this opportunity, but also because I don't have to change anything I say to people. I trust it as much now as I ever did. And so that attracts people. My wife was just telling me the other day about the ambassadors. The reason that they like it is because a lot of them are high-level athletes, and so they have trainers that are training them, and they'll look at the ingredients, and it's what's not in the product. They'll say, yeah, these are great ingredients. They're not shortcutting. They're not doing this. They're not doing that. And so it's a synergy that starts from the top, but just from the bottom. Probably one of the reasons that you make people successful is because I don't want to say compassion, the trust that you have for us who don't really know what we're doing is incredibly motivating, and it's contagious. It's great to have a great product.
If you take care of people and you care about them, the money will always follow. I've never been out feeling the money is important as I look at money and say, okay, that's how I can measure how I'm doing.
It's a key indicator.
It's an indicator.
Yeah.
Do I have to have that much? No, but what I like to do with the excess money is invest into these different companies that I own and buy other companies. And some things I loan money out to people that are doing the same thing if I got enough, if I'm in a position where I can protect my investment too. So I'm happy to do those kind of things. And I feel like I'm creating jobs by doing it for people. Mm-hmm. And I generally, I can't say that there's very many people that don't like me. That's an interesting comment to make because I've heard back from different people who worked for me over the years and saying what a great experience they had. And I haven't had anyone yet tell me that you didn't treat me right. You got to treat your employees the best you can too. But you have to. My version of it is you have to have employees that will stretch too, and that's how. If you're running a company, how you can do better to you try to get your employees to do more. They know you're fully engaged,
and they really have to believe in what you're doing and the product. And that's one of the things we look for most is like, hey, if you want this job, try this product first. Yeah. Like if you want to work with us, like you got to really be behind the product because we aren't cutting corners and it's not about profit. It's just about like a solid product that we feel like we can deliver to the world, which is.
We've had world-class athletes. Their agents have reached out to us. They said that they thought this would go well. And I'll say, have they tried the product? And they say no. And I said, they got to try the product first. And they'll get mad at me, saying, well, I can't give this. Well, I said, if they're not going to try the product, we're not interested.
The agent won't give it to them because they're worried that they'll get hooked on the product and then we won't make a deal.
Right?
That's probably exactly what's happening. It is
for sure. But the funny thing is like all our athletes aren't paid.
No.
We have supported a couple shows and some training and equipment for some gyms, but in reality, like we're not out there paying like a professional MMA fighter to say, hey, we got the best product and then who knows if they've even actually tried or even liked the product.
Right.
That's the sad truth about the world we live in. It's just a lot of people are driven by money, but we're trying to create something from the core, which is product, people and product. It's such a unique mix that they have to come first.
Yeah, we are incredibly blessed. I am constantly shocked, even now where we've gone to the next level. Before, when it was just my company, it was really pretty much an expensive hobby. And so the athletes started being generous to me through that process, and they continue to be generous. Like I'm absolutely shocked every single time somebody will say, hey, I talked to these owners of these gyms. Will you send them a sample? Yeah, exactly. Or if I ask them, we're doing this campaign, would you be willing to help out? Sure. Yeah, of course. It really is a fun synergy, but it wouldn't happen if we didn't have this support, and it wouldn't grow and the enthusiasm of the athletes because they love the product, because basically they've already put their name on the line, especially we have athletes through several disciplines, but this really blew up in the NFL to where other players they wanted to find out what this secret was, and they were reaching over into the locker to get, and it's a exciting process.
Yeah, for sure.
Those are all the things that make a company grow. And if you don't have that, it's pretty tough to make something work in a business realm. And you have to find that niche. And when you find the niche, you latch on to it and magnify it. Because in the end goal of a business, especially like Klerpath, we want to bless the lives of tens of thousands of people. To do that, we have to get first of all, the consumer has to take the product. Hey, this really works. This is good. And then word of mouth starts making a lot of difference. Athletes can bring people in too, because people maybe trust them. So any way you can touch the people and get them to try it, I don't think we have very many that don't stay on the product once they get used to it and say, hey, this is working for me. And they give it enough trial, stick with something. Nutrition, I've learned a long time ago, the difference between pharmaceuticals and that time it was encapsulated herbs or any nutrition, is it takes more time for the nutrition to work. But it doesn't have side effects like the pharmaceutical could that works maybe faster and you put a Band-Aid on something. Right. The nutritional stuff will it doesn't put a Band-Aid on, it'll stop the pain or whatever it is, but then it makes you even healthier. Yep. And that's the big difference between the two.
It's really creating the body to do the work instead of adding something synthetic.
Your body can do wonderful things.
Yeah, it heals itself if you give it the right.
I'll just tell you a story. It's not related to Klerpath, but I was having a shoulder problem, and I went to the specialist on that, and he says, yeah, your rotator cuff is worn out on part of it, and I said, well, can you do surgery and fix it? And he says, we could, but you're too old for it. And I don't know if that's true now because I found somebody just as old that got it. So, but I didn't, so I haven't done anything with it. It actually is pretty well healed itself over time. It's been a few years, but because if you're taking the right nutrition for whatever you're doing, your body then can take that nutrition, latch onto it, and start the healing process. Our bodies are remarkable things if we give them the right tool.
And I think especially in the weightlifting, bodybuilding, or muscle building, however you want to classify this product, that a lot of the problems from my experience that I've seen, not that I'm an expert, come from the lack of blood flow. There's some blockage. Yeah. And our product actually opens that up and creates more blood flow. And so
that's where the nutrition's coming from, through that blood flow. Yeah. You put the nutrition in the body, this product expands the arteries and veins so they can hold more, and that nutrition's feeding in there quicker and better. So in that product, once you start getting used to it and your body's doing that every time you take it, you start feeling the difference quicker. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It just takes time. So I can't say enough good about Klerpath. I think if people will be on it and take it long enough, well, you buy basically, I think, a 30-day supply of it. If you stick on it for 30 days and remember how you were when you began, and in 30 days you'll be amazed how much better your mind is working better, you're thinking better, your body's functioning better, and stick on it. There's not a lot of downside to it.
Especially with weightlifting, people find the benefits almost, I want to say instantly. Yeah. Because the way it fights lactic acid buildup, and it creates muscle growth, and obviously you feel the flush, so you're clearing toxins. It creates that euphoria in the brain. And so we really do have something special here.
Absolutely. I think one of the big things that excites me is I would like to have everybody try it, because it's a good replacement for what's out there. What's out there has gotten us to where we're at, but we've recognized that there are things that are not healthy about it. When it comes to our bodies, it's a slow process for most people. And a lot of times they lose heart along the way. And so they resort to shortcuts that are not as healthy. And so by getting rid of some of these unhealthy shortcuts, but giving them a strong response right out of the bag, it gives them hope. And then that'll get them through the first month. And then once they get through the first month, a lot of times we've had 3 different people that we've helped lose over 100 pounds. And what I've thought of in the process of watching them is there was a lot of mental barriers that they had been told by society, by their own mind, that they were fat, that they were disgusting, that they had all these negative thought processes. And by feeling good and associating that feel good with going to the gym, that kept them going. And then by just keeping going, eventually they started to see progress, which encouraged them. And the funny thing was, all 4 of them now, there's 4, all 4 of them said the same thing. Their goal was 100 pounds. When they made it, I said, you did it. You did it. Every single one of them said the exact same thing. No. I got 15 more pounds to go. Because now they know they can do it.
Yeah.
Now it's no longer a question.
Part of the problem is when you say you did it, that's putting in their mind you're finished, and your mind controls everything.
Yeah.
If you can get your mind positive, and this product will help lead to that. So where you think, yeah, I feel good, I can lose this weight. But if you're sitting there negative, your mind's negative about it, you can do a lot of things and your body's not going to lose much weight, if any.
Right.
And maybe you stop doing that and it comes back. This is a product that everyone's going to want. See, once you get on it, you're not going to want to quit it. It makes you feel good, and your muscles are better. Everything's better. Your body starts to be better. And then, so your mind is going to be continually positive about good health and feeling better, maybe taking care of those aches and pains that maybe as you get older that you have. That's remarkable. And I mean, I'm getting later years, but I feel better now. I can't move as fast as I can just because of older age, but I do good for my age. I am doing extremely good. Yeah. I feel good, and I don't get sick anymore. Mm-hmm. I have been sick for about since I got COVID. I have not been sick, not even a cold. And right now, my body's telling me I'm not going to get sick, and if I do, it's going to be so minor I won't even know I'm sick. But those are benefits that come from taking a product like this. It's a good
mental attitude.
And having a mental attitude that says
it really is it really does make the difference in people that we all know weightlifting is probably the best thing you can do for your body.
Especially physically. As you age for bone density.
And so what the product is doing is it's creating motivation and giving, oh, wow, I actually feel good and I have energy and I'm giving the body what it needs. And so it's a combination of working out and the product.
It increases the positive habits.
And it doesn't have to necessarily even be in the gym. Like Ken's taking the product, you're older.
My parents in their 80s take it to go on walks.
Right. So but I think, if you can, you should be in the gym lifting weights. I mean, that's proven science. Like that is extremely good for you.
Or in your home, if you've got the equipment in your home.
I still tell people, like, you are unique. There's no one else like you. And so if you want to lose weight, I'm not going to tell you got to eat chicken and rice, because there's more to diet than just nutrition. And it's the same thing with exercise. They'll say, well, what do I need to do? And I said, well, what do you want to do? Before we change anything in your nutrition, I want to see what you can do for a month. So you pick what you want to do. Well, I should probably do this. I don't want to hear what you should do. I want to hear what you want to do. Mm-hmm. We'll work with wherever you're at. And it doesn't matter what they start with. Eventually, they get motivated enough that I say, let's try some weight bearing. My wife, we have 6 children, and for some reason, every time she had a baby, she would revert back to where she was very quickly, but she had this pattern of just running like crazy. And so one day, we were at the gym, and she's just running around the track, and I said, hold on a second, come here. This is a leg press. Let me show you a leg press. And now She exclusively does weight-bearing stuff, but it just wasn't her thing initially. And so we'll take you wherever you're at. If this is what you like doing, let's do that for 30 days and we'll go from there. But you can't change anything on your diet till we can get 30 days of exercise in. Now we've built a habit.
And we are starting to see people come in like in the yoga space or in the swimming space or
rock climbing, mountain biking.
We had a Mount Everest climber on our L-arginine product, like in his whole team. So there is different avenues, and you're right. Like people have different interests, and it's like diet. Whatever works, you should do.
Yeah, Matt Bell. I didn't know that desert racing was an incredibly physical sport, and he's coming back and saying, you know, his mental focus is the difference between life and death on a 17-hour race. I mean, how many of us can focus for 17 hours or hydration because they're out in the desert and they're sweating like crazy
at those speeds with dust in the heat.
Yeah.
Like
unknown terrain.
He was saying a lot of times he's just looking at a screen going, oh man, there's a bump. Okay. Like I got to turn here. Like it is extremely mental focus.
And so it's fun to see that we're helping people across a lot of
anytime you can
different
get
things
clear in your mind and think better, no matter what your age is, you're going to do better physically and everything else. And this product helps clear the mind. And so we know that sleeping's part of it. There's things that go along with it hand in hand. And exercise, all these things go. But this product is like it's just like a kickstart with something to put you into that zone and keep you there and keep you feeling well while you're doing all these things. So you're healthier, whatever your age is.
Which circles back to, you know, why our firm invested in this and is largely supporting it through logistics and other efforts. But it circles back to, you know, this product is a differentiator. It's so unique that it really makes a big difference. Like people think, oh, it's just another pre-workout. And then they try it and they turn red and they're like, oh crap, I'm having an allergic reaction. I better go to the hospital or whatever it is. But it's like, and then the third time they try it, you need to try it at least 3 times. The third time they're me, hooked. The first time was really weird. The second time I'm like, okay, I like it. The third time I'm like, 8 years later, I'm still on it. And it's phenomenal. It works every single time.
Well, all of our products are that way too. L-arginine for people that have heart conditions, they might say, I can't take this because my heart's too weak. Take L-arginine. It has a lot of properties that are helpful for the heart nutrition-wise. So our company, Klerpath, has a lot of different things, and we'll even more so in the future
more's coming.
That we're working on.
Yep.
But I'm telling you, if you want to be physical at all, Klerpath is really the place to start. Well, if you don't have some conditions that keep you from having that.
Yeah, well, probably the one of the most things I love about the Grow Muscle is the holistic Chinese medicine like approach. It's not just here's a stimulant with some other stuff, like you said, dust it in so they can
force you to do
label claims and sell it cheap, like for $20 or whatever. Like it literally has everything in the right dose in a combination that kickstarts, like Ken said, your body to really get in that mode and mind of better health.
Yeah. If the company has the people in mind, you won't have cut products. What I mean, they're not going to put fillers and different things in it.
Exactly.
And give less there, and so they get the margins are better.
Right.
You might pay a few dollars more, but it's going to be worth multiple dollars more. And that's why we don't cut that.
Yeah, our product is probably one of the most expensive. It's definitely at the top end, and that's why. And we own the manufacturer. So it's not like
our company manufactures, so we know what's going on.
Yeah, we not only know what's going on, but we're getting pretty good deals on it, and it's still expensive because the ingredients are there.
Yeah, well, our margins maybe aren't as good as some. I'll tell you something that happened with our manufacturing company. We have to, when somebody comes to us, we test their products to see what's really in it versus what the label says. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest companies in the country came to us on a few of their products. They didn't even know this. It was the manufacturers automatically cut the product down.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Everything wasn't the potency that the label said.
It wasn't meeting
so
label
you take
claims.
The product and it doesn't work as well, but the company's making more money.
Right.
We know what's going in our product. We don't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't look at people and know that I'm cheating them and telling them there's more in it than there is. And that's why it has to be the best product and the full quantity that we need to get the results. And that's why our grow products are so powerful. They're all that way. And our LRs, every one of them are that way. No cutting of the product. I sold one of my companies decades ago, and one of my friends there, I asked him a few years later, 3 or 4 years later, I said, when you're still there, have they taken the formulas and changed anything? And he wouldn't tell me. But the way he was answering that question, I knew that the new owners had come in, raise their profits, so cut the product, leave it. And what you do then is you get people coming back screaming at you, saying, it doesn't work as well as it used to. What did you do to it?
Yeah.
No, that's not a good way to do it.
And then the owners aren't even taking it like you've experienced.
Right. Yeah.
Like, that formula I'm actually pushing out there on social, telling them what to take is crap.
I'm shocked.
You've got to take your own product.
Yeah.
I'm shocked how many formulators don't. And they openly, blatantly admit to it. But that's the wonderful thing about having someone that I can trust as a manufacturer, because the story you're talking about is a very well-respected company. I love that company, and so I was shocked to find out that they had watered down the
real
ingredient.
The real truth of it is there's probably 90% of the companies do that. If the company hasn't ordered it that way, the manufacturer is going to cut there because he makes then more money and they think they're getting a better product.
Right.
Either way, it's fraud to me, and it's not right.
Well, it's unethical.
And so it's certainly unethical. But once you find out as a manufacturer, if I were them and we told them, you would think they'd say, "Oh, we got to make that change immediately." Some do, some don't.
But then they're looking at expense. They're like, "Oh, well, if we
change,
then
that's
gonna mess with the margins, and then it has a whole chain effect."
See, our mentality in the U.S., especially in our financial conditions now, buy the cheapest product, we assume it's going to work as well as the most expensive. When I look at products anymore, if I'm going to buy something, I don't look at the price tag as much. Sometimes I do, though, because I know, okay, these guys have probably got more in it than these guys. This will probably be a better product. So you just have to be aware there's a lot of unscrupulous companies out there in the nutrition field.
And some of it may not be malicious.
No, it's like the one I was telling you about. That was not malicious.
Right.
They were in shock when we told
Coming
them.
from the traditional Chinese medicine background, I was shocked that when we would order herbs, there's no regulation in China. And so some herbs, there's a white root called shanyao, and it's considered higher quality the more white it is. And we were catching the Chinese providers bleaching them so they could ask more for it. Or they were spraying pharmaceuticals on the herbs to get a better influence. And so it's discouraging when you go to these trade shows and you see all the companies that all of the companies are buying from the ingredients from, and now you have about 70% of those companies out of China. And so you really do need to be able to make sure that the ingredients are well-sourced and that they're safe and reputable.
Anything out of China, you've got to really be careful with. There's good products, and there's a lot of crooks.
Yeah.
Put it mildly, selling you stuff that's really not what you thought you were buying.
Exactly.
Well, and the nice thing about Pharmatech is they test for that.
Yeah.
Like they actually have a library of this ingredient has this fingerprint, and okay, it has it again. Okay, it has it again. Oh, it's slightly off. Let's reject it and get something that actually has the same.
Oh, we'll send stuff back off and on because it's not what it comes in.
Right.
We test it's not what we thought we were buying, and
it shocks me when I go to the trade shows and I ask these providers if they quality control if they check their ingredients, and they don't.
No, most
And so
don't.
you have to have a manufacturer that is doing quality control on incoming and outgoing.
That's why Pharmatech is so good, because we do that.
Yep.
We know what before it comes in. We know, make sure it's not adulterated, and when it goes out, we may have to test it.
Yeah,
and make sure it's passing.
It has that same
specs.
fingerprint at the end as well, but as a finished product.
Yeah.
And that's why, again, we have them all around here. A lot of companies making products like that, and they don't have any quality control at all. They're not going to have the same. I'm just telling you, you've got to know your manufacturer as well.
Well,
the companies need to.
And that's what we're constantly fighting as a manufacturer is you're competing against someone in theory that has a stick pack machine in a garage without any testing or whatever. And the startup entry to supplement manufacturing isn't huge. And so people can start one, okay, they get shut down, they'll start another one or whatever. But
Pharmatech is my third one. Every company I've manufactured myself for that very reason.
Yeah.
This is why Klerpath is so good. We know exactly what's in it and that it works, and you're getting your money's worth. You don't know some other product. I don't care if it's the product I was telling you about. It's got a big name. It's
huge
a big
name. Yeah.
Nationwide company. And they didn't even know this was a problem.
And in all reality, it cost money that didn't necessarily have to be spent to test their product. And you wouldn't think to even test because they're such a huge company. And yet because of that tradition of checking and making sure beforehand, it was caught.
Yeah. So you've got to have the quality control in these companies. They'll all say they have it probably if they're talking to a consumer. But I'm just telling you from experience, most of them don't have it. We've got it. We've got the outside firms that verify third-party testing and things that verify everything to get certain ratings and things. And so we're right up there at the top. I remember years ago, one of my first, I think it was back in Nature Sunshine days because of our manufacturing, we had an FDA inspection one time, and he said to us, your quality and what you have here is pharmaceutical quality. It's not, what we would expect typically in just doing nutritional products. So our quality has always been up there to the top, even into the pharmaceutical
and it
grade.
shows that the type of companies we're attracting. A lot of them before they even issue us a PO, because we do work for other companies. It'll take Pharmatech like a full year of audits and whatever to land them, and they're hands down, like every time they're like, wow, they're blown away by the quality. So we're not only being tested by ourselves, of course we're following FDA regulations, but then we have other big companies that are reputable and they actually know what they're doing, and they test us and the procedures and processes as well. So,
and as a formulator, it means a lot to me because none of this is worth it if I even hurt one person. I didn't plan on this doing anything other than helping people.
And knowing your heart, you could, I'll insert there for you and for me or cheat one person.
Yeah, exactly.
Let alone if there's not the same amount we're saying of creatine or caffeine or whatever, it's not going to hurt anybody, but we're cheating them.
But what I also love is I love it when people come to us and they ask us, and we can tell them this is actually the higher grade. We're not just going with creatine monohydrate. This is creatine HCl. It is more expensive, but it's better absorbed. You don't have to have a loading phase. And it's that much more trust that they give us that, wow, they're not cutting corners. They could easily have gone with this cheaper grade of it, even though it's industry standard, even though it's not sourced out of China. We care about the effects. We care about what's going into your body. We're trying to help your body decide what it wants to do. And then your body makes that decision.
How many pro athletes or previous pro athletes would you say we have?
Oh, roughly, I think we're up to 15 or 16.
That's what I was going to say, 15. And they know their body better than anybody.
Absolutely.
They're, like
Well,
you
they have
said,
to. Their livelihood depends on it.
yeah, their bodies are moneymakers.
Exactly.
And so
it's not a shortcut thing for them. It's their moneymaker.
They're so honed in, they can feel it.
Yeah.
And there's a reason they're coming on and sticking with us because they know it's quality.
Yeah.
So.
It's that's a very important thing. And if you're going to succeed in business, you've got to you've got to be honest with them, give them the best that they're expecting, they think they're paying for. And you learn that over the years in business anyway. And that's what I've always done in my nutritional companies. I've always put the best in, and I fill those capsules with that. It used to be we'd put single herbs in the capsule. That capsule, that we could have put something in with it to cut it and make it cheaper, but our capsules were always full. And it was always the ingredient. If it was a single ingredient, if it became a formula, then whatever that percentages were, it's all herbs. It was everything the customer thought he was buying.
Yeah,
that's why we could grow so fast and do so well.
Your mother worked for you in a at Pharmatech, the original one,
and dad,
and she has a pretty incredible airplane story.
Well, my mother was, of course, I was born during World War II, the 1944. My mother at the time, we lived in New York State, Niagara Falls, probably 20 miles or so away from Buffalo. My mother got a job there from, I think it was called Bell Aircraft at the time. They built fighter aircraft for the military. And she was an inspector. They had to have inspectors when it was done. It's like a quality control thing. When a fighter plane was completed, they thought they had to inspect every system. I can't remember how many systems there were in that plane. My mother was the only inspector that had a stamp that could inspect every system. The only other person that could do that was the president of the company. And so every other inspector they had could do one or two systems. They couldn't do all of them like my mother. And maybe that's where I got some of my
there was a story that I've heard from you where she actually denied.
Yeah, my mother wouldn't cut corners with it at all. They had an allotment of fighter planes they had to get out each month. And the war, I mean, there's just, I don't know, all kinds of our aircraft were being shot down in the war, and they had to be replaced quickly. And they had one come through. My mother inspected the systems, and one of the systems was bad; it wouldn't pass. But they needed it out for their quota. And the boss came to her and says, "I want you to stamp that as approved, because we've got to hit our quota." And my mother said, "Well, you've got a stamp. You stamp it." And she thought she'd be fired on the spot for being insubordinate to the boss, the president of the company. No, they just gave her a raise, and it didn't go out. And my mother's comment on that, you stamp it, because I'm not going to stamp it and have one of our American boys die because I stamped that something was working.
Well, and I appreciate that because my dad was a fighter pilot in Vietnam, where during a time when they stepped everything up, he got 7 Distinguished Flying Crosses and 18 Air Combat Medals. What if that plane was my dad's?
What if my mother had been inspecting and let it go and he had a crash? No, they would have blamed it on the enemy, but it would have been an American.
It really comes down to your foundation, and then, and Joe's the same way. Like, it's ingrained in you and her, and as early on as she's working for your manufacturer, like, there's no way in heck she would have ever let anything out that was.
I have to say, my mother and dad were working for nothing. At the time,
just to
the
support
company
you.
was very small, and they were trying to support me and help me, which they did at the time. And so all these things, work ethics, honesty, doing things right, caring about the other person, all those come from your parents ultimately, I think. And if you're raised right, your children are going to be the same. They're out of the same stock.
People can choose that way, but I think it's easier when it's ingrained in you.
I can tell you from experience that I know that you've taught Steve. I I get to say this because we're on camera and you can't hit me now, but I am constantly shocked, impressed, and I really appreciate the values that you have infused into Steve for a lot of different reasons.
Well, our kids, because we had these businesses, our kids, when they were old enough, I put them to work in the businesses one place or another. The girls usually with secretary positions and the boys with other hands-on things. And they were trained, and they've learned. I don't know how you learn from your parents other than observation.
Yeah,
I guess.
it's an example.
And learning,
thing.
you say, I want to be like that too.
But it's more than just going through the motions. My cancer came back, and we just happened to be on a trip. And we didn't really know each other super well at that point, but he took care of me like my mom was there taking care of me. And I'm like,
let me tell you I'll tell a story about Stephen. He was living in Oregon, and it was kind of a rural community. And I'd hear stories back, usually came through his wife, saying he's out mowing the neighbor's lawn. And some people were a little bit older. He was going and helping all these people cutting their grass when he didn't have to.
Yeah.
And he didn't charge them. He didn't want any money for it. That one thing alone tells you a lot about the person's character. What they think about other people.
I was sick as a dog. I don't know why, but it was coming out
That was
all
so
ends.
bad, Joe.
And he brought me flowers. Nobody's ever brought me. Not only did he go get me something to drink so I could stay hydrated, I felt horrible because I'm stuck in the hotel room, just everything's coming out. Nothing wants to stay in. And he comes back like, I wish there was something I could do. Here's some flowers and something to drink. Yeah, it was worse than that. We almost missed our flight because I couldn't stop long enough to get on the plane.
I got to say, you're the first dude I've ever bought flowers for. The one and only,
that meant a lot to me.
It should be the last one.
Yeah, that meant a lot to me.
Yeah. No, Stephen's that way. He's good.
Ken, I appreciate you coming and talking to us. I know that we can dig in more, and we definitely have to have you back on because we didn't even scratch the surface. But if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you one more question before we part. Right now, entrepreneurial endeavors are very popular, but I feel like people have kind of lost the path of how to become a successful entrepreneur. Do you feel like it is more learned, or is it you've progressed to that point, or were you just born with it? Like, do you just have an entrepreneurial mind? How did that start?
Well, there's a couple of answers. I think I was led to do it, inspired, if you want to use that word. But as a teenager, I was an only child growing up. So, when we lived in Bakersfield, California for a number of years, and even prior to that, not having siblings, when I couldn't go and be with my friends, could have been the weather, whatever it was, I played Monopoly and a game called Risk and a game called Easy Money. I was the only player. I played all 6 positions in every game. And so I learned, as odd as it is, I learned skills and things that made me want to buy hotels and houses and things as a teenager, not knowing what it would lead to later. So then I go to college, and when I was a young man, and was on a mission in Germany, I had one of my companions who was a college graduate in economics. He said, "Oh, you ought to study economics." And not having a major when I got back into college, I said, "Okay, I'll major in economics," and I liked it. And so being led, you can follow the whole thing across in everything I did, and not having a job when I got out of the military, all these things. And then having to start the business. And because of my game playing as a teenager, there are certain things that would let you win. No one has ever beat me at Monopoly. Even one of my older grandsons who never lost, he almost beat me, but I beat him. And so anyway, I learned all these things. Then I started these businesses, and I had to learn more. How do you do this? How do you buy the product? How do you shave your costs so you can make a profit? I didn't do it right when I first started Nature Sunshine. I was selling the product for $1 a bottle, And just the ingredients and everything probably cost me $1. I hadn't figured out pricing at that time. I changed it quickly when I realized that. But all these things led and taught me things. So I really learned across the gambit through my own experiences, these crazy games. Nowadays they play on TV and things, and I played on board. But all these things taught me and prepared me for this to where I enjoyed it. I hated weekends when we were in business because I wasn't making any money that I could see. There's no way to measure it. Money was a measurement for me, not the end goal. I just wanted to be successful, provide for my family, but money measured everything. And so everything trained me for everything, and this one would teach me for that. And so because I didn't have anyone to go to, when we started our first MLM company, Nature Sunshine Products, that was in 1974. We evolved into it, made some mistakes getting there, but there were, as near as I could tell, there were only 6 MLM companies in the whole country.
Wow.
You couldn't go work for one and learn the business that way back then. All the people working for me did a lot of that and started their own later. And that was great. I was happy for that. But you have to learn. And I learned step by step by step, beginning really back as a teenager when I was playing Monopoly and those board games.
You used the word inspiration. And that really comes from your heart, your feelings, like how are you feeling drawn toward, you're clearly naturally drawn toward business. But I think the ultimate lesson that I would say I've learned from you is you're just really following your heart and your passions.
That's what it is. You have to be passionate about it. You have to love people, and you have to be willing to take a risk, because it is so hard and so risky. 95% of small businesses fail within 2 years. I never failed in that kind of a situation. I did fail in that book publishing company, the second one. Maybe next time I come, I can tell you the story of that and why it didn't work. But I buy real estate. I love real estate. I invest in it. Stephen here has convinced me I shouldn't be selling anything. I've always sold ultimately, but I'm not going to sell anymore. I've thought through that, and I thought, if you're just talking about money, if I hadn't have sold any of these, I could probably be worth twice as much as I am now. But that wasn't my driving factor.
But it also created other opportunities.
It created other opportunities because I had the money to do it. So it works both ways, but when I go, my kids will have to decide what they're doing with it, not me. I'll keep them.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we've got you. I really appreciate you coming and talking to us, and we're definitely going to have to dig deeper into some of these, a lot of these topics. What's Warren Buffett's name? The Oracle of Omaha.
Oh, okay.
That's what it is. We have the Oracle of supplements.
Almost puts you on the level of being a god. I mean, is that how Oracle's used a lot?
They've progressed to understanding things to where it looks magical to anybody else.
Well, natural to him.
The point Joe's making is there really isn't very many people with this many years of experience in the supplement area specifically. Yeah, I would say you're probably one of the longest living supplement owners and entrepreneurs in the field. That might be a good argument to have.
It just tells you I've got a lot of experience.
Yeah.
It's like when I went to South Carolina as a mission president, one of the first things I told the missionaries as I met with them, I said, you can't tell me how to do anything better than what I've done, because I've done it all and I've seen it all. And in business, it's really kind of the same way with the business, your circle of competence, it's called. I've done it all in MLM business. I understand it. I understand the evolution of it, where it's going. And it's moving in really the way Klerpath is moving and going. So it all fits together and can work together. That's life.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's exciting.
Thank you.
Yeah,
You're welcome.